Yo, what's up, guys? So Noah here, breaking down the NBA slate on Draftkings and Yahoo for Wednesday, March the 11th. We're gonna cover Wednesday's six-game slate, go position by position, just talk about the players that stand out to me the most. Looking at this slate on Tuesday night, I'll give you guys some of my early thoughts, what I'm liking on Draftkings at each position, what I like over on Yahoo as well. Just before we do get started, guys, as always, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like down below. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. If you are new to the channel, if you've never subscribed yet, be sure to subscribe and click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you would like, you can check out all the exclusive content I do have to offer over on Patreon. My Patreon's linked down below in the description. You can get access to my article that I write Monday through Friday. Very in-depth article highlighting all my favorite plays on the slate, breaking everything down at each position. I do also have a Discord chat you can join that is available for Patreon members, and I do give updated core plays over on Patreon as well. So if you want to check all that out, the link to the Patreon is down below. You can also give me a follow on Twitter. That is linked down below in the description as well. At DFS by Noah is my Twitter handle. But let's go ahead and look at point guard for today. We'll start off at the top. We got two pretty appealing options at the top of this position. Luka Doncic, 11K against Denver, and then you got Trae Young for 10-4 against the Knicks. So this is a back-to-back for Dallas. They did play Tuesday night against the Spurs, I believe. Yeah, they played the Spurs Tuesday night. Luka was questionable throughout the day, but he ultimately wound up playing. Because it's a back-to-back, I think that is something worth noting. We'll definitely need to keep an eye on his status. I'm assuming that Kristaps Porzingis does not play today because he's been sitting on pretty much every back-to-back as of late. So if we look at Luka's numbers without Porzingis this season, with him off the floor, I mean, as you would expect, Luka has insane numbers with Porzingis off the floor. He does get a pretty nice bump in usage, just a nice bump in his fantasy production overall. He's averaging 1.72 fantasy points per minute with Porzingis off the floor this season. Has a 39.3% usage rate, 45% assist percentage, and 16.3% total rebound percentage. Those are pretty much elite numbers all around. Those numbers are very similar to Giannis's season-long numbers. I know Giannis averages like 1.85 fantasy points per minute, but his usage rate is a little bit lower than Luka's. Luka has a higher assist percentage. Giannis's rebound percentage is higher, but still, I think we could probably expect 50, 55 DK points at the least from Luka Doncic here. We know he's going to play big minutes if it's a close game. Normally, Denver is not a team that I really like to target because they do play at a really slow pace. They're pretty good defensively, but if you look over their last 10 games, this Denver team's actually been pretty bad defensively. They are they're 19th in defensive rating, whereas if you look at season-long numbers, pretty sure they're like bottom or they're top 10 in defensive rating on the season. They are, see if I can find the Nuggets, they're 12th in defensive rating on the season. So it's actually somewhat of a decent spot for Luka Doncic here. Really, the reason you want to pay up for him, though, is because Porzingis is most likely going to be out, and Luka does see a bump in usage, a bump in his fantasy production with Porzingis off the floor. I like him a lot at 11K on DraftKings. I think he's my favorite pay-up option on this slate, assuming Porzingis does wind up resting. I do like him over on Yahoo as well at $54. I don't think you have to pay up for him on Yahoo unless we get a lot of value throughout the day and it's easy to get there, because there are a lot of appealing mid-range options on Yahoo today. There's some decent value, but really, I'm liking the mid-range over there. So for now, I'm going to just put Luka Doncic in the early core. That could change. I mean, I'll have my updated core plays posted on Patreon. If we get some more value throughout the day and I can get Luka in on both sides, it's probably going to be something I try to do. But for now, we'll just stick to DK. Regardless, I mean, he's one of the best pay-up options today, especially if Porzingis does wind up sitting. Luka should get all the usage. So really like him at 11K. I think Trae Young has a lot of upside as well here against the Knicks. This is a matchup he has had a lot of success in. He's played the Knicks twice this season. Through 2 games against them, he has averaged 67 DraftKings points. He's coming off a big game against Charlotte where he put up 61 DraftKings points, I believe, in a game that went to double overtime, if I'm not mistaken. Young played 44 minutes in double overtime. We know if this game's close and down to the wire, Trae Young's going to probably play 34 to 36 minutes, if not more. Right now, I think I do give the slight edge to Luka just because I think he has more upside, especially if Porzingis winds up sitting. But if you're playing a lot of lineups today, I would definitely get exposure to Trae Young. He's not someone I would want to fade. If I'm only playing one lineup, though, and I have to make a choice between Luka or Young, I think I do side with Luka, assuming that Porzingis does wind up resting. But then we get down to these mid-range options. So De'Aaron Fox is someone I like quite a bit in the mid-range. He's $7,800 on DraftKings. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, I think that's where he's very appealing. He's $32 over there. He's sandwiched in between guys like Lonzo Ball and Chris Paul, $1 more than Chris Paul, $1 less than Lonzo Ball. I do like De'Aaron Fox quite a bit on Yahoo at $32. This is obviously a very appealing spot for him. Big-time pace-up spot for the Kings. This season, the Kings, they are towards the bottom of the league in pace. They're 22nd in pace on the season, whereas the Pelicans are playing at the third fastest pace in the league. We know Fox tends to play well in pace-up spots, in fast-paced games where he can just get out and run. Those are usually the games you get big fantasy games from Fox. I know he's put up some big games against some other fast-paced teams. I think he had a big game against Milwaukee. Minnesota, he did really well against them. I know they played Milwaukee recently, I thought. Yeah, he put up 43 fantasy points against them, had 17, 8, and 11. There's just massive upside for De'Aaron Fox in this game. Right now, this game does have the highest total on the slate. We only have 2 totals, the New York-Atlanta game and this game, obviously. We're still waiting for totals for the other 6 games we have. I don't think any of these games are going to get over 235, so this game's going to have the highest total on the slate, and right now I'm seeing Sacramento as only being 1.5-point underdogs, so it's a game we should expect to stay close as well. In close games, Fox is getting 32 to 34 minutes, could potentially play more. We've seen some close games recently. He's only getting 31 minutes, 28 minutes against Portland, but against Philly, he did play 36, 32 against Detroit, 33 against Memphis. If I had to guess, I'd say he probably plays 33, 34 minutes. The upside has definitely been somewhat limited for Fox. Just over his last 15 games, he doesn't have any games over 50 fantasy points. The last time he dropped 50 fantasy points, at least looking at Yahoo scoring, was January 30th, which is obviously somewhat of a concern, but I still think if there was ever a spot for Fox to go out there and put up a 50-point game, go for 25 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists, this would be the kind of matchup to do it in against the fast-paced Pelicans. So I really like De'Aaron Fox. I think he is one of the better mid-range options at point guard. Drew Holiday is another guy that's been playing really well. I do like him quite a bit on Yahoo. He's $35 over there. Dude's just getting monster minutes, very productive as of late. 47-plus Draftkings points in 3 of his last 4 games, or 47-plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games. Playing 36 to 38 minutes a night. The Pelicans are fighting for a playoff position. They're running their starters into the ground right now. I do like Drew Holiday quite a bit. I think I prefer the savings with a guy like De'Aaron Fox, but regardless, Fox, Holiday, both pretty good options in the mid-range. And then you got guys like Devontae Graham, Terry Rozier, both coming off big games against the Hawks. This is obviously a much tougher matchup for these guys, for Graham and Rozier. Plus, it's it's a slower paced game. It's a paced down spot. Right now, we don't have a total on this game because we're waiting for some news on the Miami side. But if I had to guess, I would say this game probably comes in at a 220 total, maybe even lower, which just really isn't going to make it that appealing for fantasy. The only way this game becomes appealing is if Jimmy Butler gets ruled out, then obviously we're going to have a lot of appealing options from Miami. But there's not much I really like from Charlotte. I know Graham and Rozier are coming off big games, but I don't think I'm going to go to them, today, especially with the price coming up. I'd much rather roster a guy like Elfrid Payton. I know Elfrid Payton was really disappointing on Tuesday night. That game just finished as I started recording this video. I was very high on Elfrid Payton. I was very high on Julius Randle. Both those guys just absolutely shit the bed Tuesday. If you watch that game or if you track the game logs, I believe 4 or 5 minutes into the game, all the Knicks starters got pulled and none of them returned till I think 9 or 8, either 8 or 9 minutes left in the second quarter. So a lot of the starters lost minutes Tuesday because of just weird rotations because they played so poorly. And Payton himself lost some minutes because of foul trouble. He only played 18 minutes Tuesday night against the Wizards. I thought that was a great spot for Elfrid Payton. I thought that was a matchup where you could definitely catch an upside game from him. That didn't happen, but he gets another great spot today against the Hawks, if not even better matchup. The Hawks this season in terms of defensive rating, they are 28th in defensive rating. They are playing at the 7th fastest pace in the league. Payton sucked Tuesday night, but I like going back to him today. It's a great matchup again. Hopefully people will shy away from him because he did disappoint on Tuesday. Most nights this guy's playing probably 30, 32 minutes. Most nights he's going to give you 30 to 40 DraftKings points, and if you were ever to get a 40-plus point game from him, it would most likely be in this kind of matchup. So really like Elfrid Payton. Hopefully people shy away. I think that's definitely a mistake. I think there's plenty of upside for him, and although he disappointed Tuesday, I'm going to be right back on Elfrid Payton on Wednesday. But then we do have some very appealing options in this 5K range, so we're going to have to keep an eye on Miami. They're currently one of the teams we got to watch today. Right now, as I'm recording this video Tuesday night, Jimmy Butler, Kendrick Nunn, and Tyler Hero are all questionable. if you get just one of those three guys out, especially Jimmy Butler, like if Jimmy Butler winds up out, I'm going to really like Goran Dragic. Even if Kendrick Nunn is out, that should open up the door for Goran Dragic to play more minutes. We know Tyler Hero's been out for like the last couple of months. So even if Tyler Hero plays, I assume he's going to be limited, which won't make much of an impact on Goran Dragic. But if we especially get Jimmy Butler out, Goran Dragic at 5,500 is going to become probably one of my favorite options on the slate. Just when you take Jimmy Butler off the floor this season, Dragic does average over a fantasy point per minute. I believe he has, I think, the second highest usage rate on the team behind Bam Adebayo, but we will take a look at that real quick just to confirm. Obviously, Jimmy Butler is a high usage player. He plays a lot of minutes, so getting him off the floor, there's going to be a lot of beneficiaries. But just looking at Dragic's numbers with Butler off the floor, 28.7% usage rate, averaging 1.12 fantasy points per minute, 30% assist percentage, really just elite numbers from Goran Dragic all around. This is obviously not a guy that's going to play huge minutes. Most nights you're only getting about 30, 32 minutes from him at the most. But if you get Butler and Kendrick Nunn out, there's a chance Goran Dragic potentially starts and maybe plays like 34, 35 minutes. And at 5,500 against a bad defensive team in the Hornets, I would absolutely love Goran Dragic. I'm not going to include him in the core plays, but if we get some news out of Miami in the afternoon that Butler's out, Nunn's out, I'm pretty positive that Dragic will be a core play for me. At that same price tag, though, I do like RJ Barrett a lot, so this is obviously just a really appealing spot for the Knicks getting to face the Hawks. There's a lot of guys I like from the Knicks today. I liked a lot of guys from the Knicks on Tuesday night. Really didn't go well, but I'm going to be right back on them on Wednesday. Barrett played 30 minutes Tuesday night against Wizards, had 31 Draftkings points. He wasn't as disappointing as guys like Randle and Elfrid Payton. This is obviously, though, a good spot for him. 5,500. It seems like an expensive price tag, but there's 35, close to 40-point upside for Barrett in this kind of matchup. I mean, we talked about it earlier. Hawks are one of the worst defensive teams in the league. They're a top 10 team in pace. If you were ever to spike a ceiling game from RJ Barrett, I feel like this would be the matchup it would come in. So I like him quite a bit at 5,500. If we look over to Yahoo, he's really cheap over there at shooting guard. He's only $16 at the shooting guard position. Definitely like RJ Barrett as a value shooting guard there. Now, if Butler and Nunn wind up out, then most likely I will be replacing Barrett with Goran Dragic. But like I said, guys, if you want to get access to my updated core plays after more injury news comes out throughout the day, I will have those posted on Patreon about an hour or two before lock. You can access them there. Pretty much all my updated content will be posted on Patreon in the afternoon. But then if we're talking about value at point guard, there's really not much here. Nothing really stands out. Maybe if Luka were to sit or something on the back-to-back. I mean, he's been dealing with injuries recently. I wouldn't be surprised to see Luka sit today. So obviously that would make a guy like JJ Barea really appealing. I'm pretty sure Delon Wright's cheap. Yeah, 4,700. But I'm just assuming that Luka plays. So let's go ahead and move on to shooting guard now. At this position, obviously a big injury to watch here is Jimmy Butler. 8K on Draftkings. If he plays today, really don't have a ton of interest in him. I think I'd rather get to guys like Drew Holiday or even De'Aaron Fox for a little bit cheaper. But obviously, if Butler is out, there's going to be a lot of beneficiaries there. Goran Dragic would benefit. If Butler is out and then Kendrick Nunn winds up playing, then Kendrick Nunn would really benefit. He'd be a guy I like quite a bit. Right now, the Jimmy Butler question mark is one of the big injuries we have to watch heading into Wednesday. But other shooting guards, I think Donovan Mitchell's fine at 7,300. I don't love him. Rarely do I feel like I have to roster Donovan Mitchell. This is rarely a guy that's going to win you tournaments. Most nights you're getting 35, 40, maybe 45 DK points from him. Every now and then you'll get a 50-point game from Mitchell. But most nights he's putting up 40, 45. That's fine at 7,300, but that's not a guy you feel like you have to roster. Honestly, I'd probably rather save $1,000 and play a guy like SGA. SGA is listed as questionable on DraftKings, but he's actually probable. He's expected to play today. Assuming he plays and is not limited, he's going to play probably 34 to 36 minutes. I think he gives you pretty much the same floor that Donovan Mitchell does. Maybe Mitchell has a little bit of a higher ceiling, but I like SGA quite a bit at his DraftKings salary. I think he really stands out over there. This is normally a guy that we're paying $7K, 7,500 for. Getting a pretty big discount on him today at 6,300. So definitely like SGA in the mid-range, assuming he is playing today and not limited. If he winds up out, then you could definitely go to a guy like Dennis Schroeder, who really benefited last game with SGA out. Duncan Robinson's price is starting to really get up there. At 6K, this is just not a guy that I really want to roster at this salary. I know he's been putting up big games recently, but Duncan Robinson's a really scoring-dependent guy. If he's not making 50, 60% of his shots, most nights he's going to be disappointing at this price tag. If Jimmy Butler were to sit, that is a boost for Duncan Robinson, but still it's not like this guy's cheap. I mean, he's 6K, just not a guy that I'll roster at this salary. I'd rather play some cheaper guys. Like, even though Buddy Hield's going to play way less minutes than Duncan Robinson, I'd rather take a shot on Buddy Hield for 5,400. He's only going to play probably 26, maybe 28 minutes at the most, but there's a lot of upside for him against the Pelicans. A pace-up spot against a fast-paced team in general just sets up really well for Buddy Hield, a guy that's pretty scoring-dependent. Anytime you get scoring-dependent guys in fast-paced games, that's when I have a lot of interest in them because it just allows them to get more shots up. So he had a lot of success against the Pelicans. Earlier this season, he had 47 Draftkings points against them. He did play 39 minutes. We're not going to expect 39 minutes from Hield today. But in 26, 28 minutes, I wouldn't be surprised to see Buddy Hield put up like 36, 38 DK points in 28 minutes. Like, he could easily do it in this matchup. And maybe if he's playing well and he's knocking down a lot of his shots, they'll keep him on the floor a little bit longer. So I do have a good amount of interest in him at 5,400. But then 5K and below, if we're looking for cheap options here, like I said earlier, if Jimmy Butler winds up out and Kendrick Nunn plays, then Kendrick Nunn I'll have a lot of interest in at 4,800. Nunn's never really a guy that I roster when the Heat are fully healthy, but whenever you get Jimmy Butler off the floor, Nunn does see a little bit of a spike in his numbers and his usage overall. He averages, let's see if I can find he averages close to a fantasy point per minute with Butler off the floor, 23.6% usage rate, 22.7% assist percentage, pretty solid numbers all around. He's 4,800, probably going to play 32, 34 minutes, assuming Butler sits, maybe gets even more. I would like him a lot as a value option under 5K. And then Gary Harris, last guy we'll talk about, he's 4,500, just continues to get big minutes every night. The fantasy production can be inconsistent from Gary Harris, but as of late, he's actually been pretty consistent. He's given you 24-plus Draftkings points in 5 straight games. Now, I don't know if this kind of production continues, but it's hard to argue against him when he's going to play 32 to 34 minutes. He's still cheap. He's 4,500. I'm fine with Gary Harris as a value option. He is still cheap on Yahoo as well. He's still really cheap over there. He's only $13. I think if you want to play Gary Harris on Yahoo, I'd be totally fine with that. But yeah, I think that's probably it for shooting guard value plays for guys under 4K and 5K in terms of cheap options. Well, I guess one more guy we'll talk about. So if Tyler Hero plays today, he's only 3,300. I have to assume that he's going to be limited. He hasn't played in over a month. It was a foot injury as well. So I'm sure he's going to be limited. But if we can get like even 22 to 24 minutes from Tyler Hero at 3,300, like this guy could put up 30 Draftkings points in 22 minutes, especially if Jimmy Butler were to sit. That would just allow Hero to get even more usage. Like if you get Butler out, Nunn out, and then Hero playing at 3,300, that would make me pretty interested. I mean, this is a guy that's normally priced around the 5K range. He got priced down because he's just been injured. DraftKings always does that. Whenever guys get injured, they just get priced down for some stupid reason. So keep an eye on Tyler Hero's status. Keep an eye on if he's going to be limited or not. I mean, if he has no minutes limit, then he's going to be the best value play on the slate, and I don't think it's really going to be even close. But that'll be news we kind of have to wait and see on. So let's move on to small forward now. We'll talk about this position. So at the top here, we do have Tobias Harris, 8,500 on DraftKings. Right now, Josh Richardson is expected back for the Sixers. He's going to play, and Joel Embiid is questionable, has a chance to play. If Joel Embiid plays, I have no interest in Tobias Harris at 8,500. If Joel Embiid remains out, I think Harris is fine, but still don't feel like he's going to be a guy I really go out of my way to pay up for today. Same with a guy like Jimmy Butler. Brandon Ingram, I think, is fine at 8K. His price is starting to get up there, though, as well. He's always been an inconsistent guy. Now that Zion, the team's fully healthy, now that Zion's in the lineup, you don't really know what you're going to get from Ingram on a nightly basis. I think I'd rather go to guys like Drew Holiday, even Lonzo for a little bit cheaper. Those are guys I'd probably rather roster. Zion, you have him at for cheaper than Ingram. He's 7,800. So yeah, just really don't see myself paying up a small forward. If I was going to, it'd probably be with a guy like SGA at 6,300. But I don't even consider that paying up because he's 6,300. So just looking in this 5K range, we talked about Buddy Hield earlier. I like him quite a bit at 5,400. Really good matchup for Bogdanovich and Harrison Barnes against the Pelicans. I know Harrison Barnes put up a monster game against the Pelicans earlier this season. He's 5K. He's going to play big minutes. He's fine. Never do I feel like I have to roster Harrison Barnes, but this is kind of a short slate. We only have 6 games, not a ton of players to work with. So if you want to play Harrison Barnes today, I'm totally fine with that at small forward. But yeah, that's probably it for this position. Derrick Jones Jr. is coming off a big game where he played big minutes, but that was with Jay Crowder out. Jay Crowder is now expected back for this game. He's probable. But we also have question marks with guys like Kendrick Nunn and Jimmy Butler. Like, even if Jay Crowder comes back and Jimmy Butler's out, I would still have interest in Derrick Jones Jr. because with no Butler, that does free up like 32, 34 minutes that will have to go somewhere. And I assume Derrick Jones Jr. will probably play upper 20s, if not low 30s in minutes. And he's only 4K, so if Jimmy Butler sits, I do have some interest in Derrick Jones Jr. at 4K. But yeah, I think that's it for small forward, so let's go ahead and cover the power forward position now. So at the top here, you got John Collins for 9,100 against the Knicks. John Collins was someone that I liked a lot Monday night against the Hornets. He was kind of disappointing. I mean, he still finished okay, had 46 DK points, but that was in double overtime. Like, I was really lucky to get double overtime from him. Like, I believe after the first quarter, he had like 10 fantasy points, and then at halftime, he had like 15 fantasy points. Like, John Collins really sucked Monday night. Got lucky with the double overtime. He was at least able to salvage the night. This is another good spot for him against the Knicks. I don't think this is a slate where I'm going to be really going out of my way to pay up for John Collins, especially that we do have like other pay-up options. We have more games. I mean, Monday night slate was only 3 games. We got 6 games tonight. We got more of a player pool to work with. So don't feel the need to pay up for Collins. I think I'd rather save salary, play a guy like Zion. I mean, you got Zion at 7,800, who I always have interest in when he's priced around this price range. His upside is still high. I mean, the floor lately is like, you've been getting more floor games from Zion recently. Like, he only has 1 game over 48 DK points. Like, he's been pretty much under 45 DK points in like almost 9 straight games. 9 of his last 10 games, I should say. I mean, at 7,800, if you're rostering Zion in tournaments, like, you need 50 plus Draftkings points. And because he's only gotten that like once out of his last 10 games, I think the floor for Zion's pretty high right now. Like, he's pretty much a lock to get you mid-30s to low 40s. But the ceiling's definitely somewhat limited. I think you get more of a ceiling from a guy like Julius Randle. I think if you're going to get like a 50, 55-point game, it would definitely come from Julius Randle. This is a fantastic spot for him against the Hawks. He absolutely burned me Tuesday night. I'll go ahead and admit it. Full transparency, I did mention Julius Randle in my video on Tuesday. I had him as a core play, and he was in my final core plays on Patreon, so that obviously went terribly, or that just went terribly. I know Randle was like 15 to 20% owned in most tournaments, and in my tournament lineups, I had like 40 to 50% of him. Like, I was way overweight on Julius Randle on Tuesday night slate. That obviously did not go well. He was really disappointing. He fouled out in 26 minutes. He also got pulled 4 minutes into the game. Like, just a lot of things went poorly. Just a lot of, I don't even know what's the word here. Just a lot of bad, like, in his range of outcomes, you pretty much got all the bad, like foul trouble, poor play, just everything went wrong. But now he gets another fantastic spot against the Hawks. I hope people shy away from Randle. I loved him on Tuesday night. I love him again in this matchup. He's one of my favorite plays today. I'm going to be right back on him on Tuesday. On Wednesday. He burned me Tuesday night, but I'll be right back on him Wednesday. I like him a lot over on Yahoo. He's still $32 over there, which I think is a very appealing price tag on Yahoo. He's like $5 cheaper than Zion, $3 cheaper than Christian Wood, $3 cheaper than Tobias Harris. Like, definitely give me Julius Randle over all those guys. This is a spot where he should have a ton of success. I know I said that Tuesday night and it didn't work out, but against the Hawks this season, Randle's averaged nearly 50 DraftKings points per game against them through 2 games. Because he only played 26 minutes, he should be full go today. I'm not worried about the back-to-back. We should get probably 32 to 34 minutes from Julius Randle. Against the Hawks, sign me up for that. I think there's massive upside for Randle today, and hopefully people shy away from him because he disappointed Tuesday. I'm going to be right back on him. But then other power forwards, even if Joel Embiid's out again, like, I really don't like Al Horford at 7,400. I'd rather play Randle, probably rather play Zion as well. Obviously, if Joel Embiid plays, I have no interest in Al Horford. Bielitsa, it's a good matchup for him against the Pelicans. I think at 5,500, he's fine to go to. Pretty much all the Kings guys are in play. Bielitsa, Fox, Bogdan, Barnes, Buddy Hield. I have interest in all those guys. Whoever starts at center between like Giles or Holmes. We'll talk about Holmes when we get to center. I have some interest in them as well. But then if we're talking about cheap plays at this position, cheap power forwards, under 5K, there's one guy I do want to hit on that I like quite a bit. But before we get there, you got Harrison Barnes at 5K you could look to. If Joel Embiid returns, I have no interest in Mike Scott. With Josh Richardson expected to play, I assume Mike Scott goes back to the bench anyway, so really don't have any interest in him. Cody Zeller's only getting like 22 to 24 minutes a night, so hard to trust him, especially in a tough matchup against the Heat. The guy I do like a lot, though, at power forward, center eligible as well, is Maxi Kleber, 4,600 on DraftKings. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a back-to-back for the Mavericks. They played on Tuesday night against the Spurs. They have a game Wednesday night against Denver. We've seen, just as of late, Kristaps Porzingis has been resting on back-to-backs. I'm going into this slate assuming that Porzingis does not play, and I'm assuming that Maxi Kleber gets the start at center. And we've seen in games this season where Porzingis is out and Kleber starts at center, he usually plays 32 to 34 minutes. I know this game against the Bulls, Porzingis was out. We got 34 minutes from Kleber. He put up 37 DraftKings points in those 34 minutes. I think we can expect similar numbers from him today, if not better. Denver is usually, like I said, they're usually a team I don't go out of my way to target, but lately they've been really bad defensively. I like Kleber at only 4,600. I think it looks like one of the clear value plays. He's cheap on Yahoo as well. He's at power forward, which is really appealing. You don't have to use up one of your center spots on him. Only $15 on Yahoo. Just looks like a clear value right now, assuming that Porzingis does wind up sitting today. But yeah, that's probably it for power forward plays. If Porzingis sits, that gives a slight bump to Dorian Finney-Smith, so he's fine to go to at 4,400. If Jimmy Butler's out, you do have Jay Crowder at 4,500, who I would have a little bit of interest in. But yeah, I think that's it for power forward, so let's go ahead and move on to center now. We'll talk about this position real quick. So at the top of the center position, 9K and above, there's one guy that I really like here, but before we get there, I will start off with Joel Embiid. He's 10,500, questionable for today against Detroit. Don't know yet if he's going to play or not. Assuming he does play, I doubt Embiid's someone I really try and jam in at 10.5. This is going to be his first game back. I can't remember what his injury was. Yeah, it was a shoulder injury. So maybe he could be limited with a shoulder injury. That'll just be something we have to wait and see on. But regardless, I think I'd rather pay up for Trae Young at a similar salary. I'd try and get up to Luka on the slate. Even if Embiid plays, I doubt I really go to him. Jokic has just been so disappointing recently. It's going to become a really good matchup for him if Porzingis winds up out. But still, even in good spots recently, like Jokic has just been so disappointing. He's put up less than 40 or 50 DK points in 4 straight games. He's had 33, 30 his last 2 games. I don't expect Jokic to be this bad rest of season, but he's hard to trust right now. The minutes have been down as well. Now that Mason Plumlee's healthy, like Jokic isn't playing 36 or 38 minutes like he was earlier in the season. He's back to playing like 30, 32 minutes, which obviously hurts his upside. I think I'd rather roster a guy like Bam Adebayo. I love this spot for Bam Adebayo against the Hornets. I've talked about this all season. Like, this is a matchup I love to target. Centers against the Hornets, centers against the Bulls, centers against the Nets. That's a matchup I've targeted all season, and I'm not going to stop today. I think Adebayo has massive upside in this spot. This is a guy that can go out there and drop 50 fantasy points. We saw him do it against the Wizards. Had a very favorable matchup that day. Put up 50 fantasy points against them. Had 27 points, 14 rebounds, 6 assists, and a block. I mean, Adebayo's just been so good this season for fantasy. He can contribute in all categories. Has legit triple-double upside. Can get defensive stats as well. At $37 on Yahoo, he's my favorite center to pay up for. You factor in that he is $9 less than Embiid, $6 less than Jokic. I'm assuming Porzingis is out, but even if Porzingis plays, he's $4 less than Porzingis. Like, definitely give me Adebayo over all those guys. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Bam Adebayo is the highest scoring center on the slate. And honestly, wouldn't be surprised to see him wind up being one of the highest scoring centers, or one of the highest scoring players overall. Like, I could see a 50, 55, maybe even 60 point game from Adebayo in this spot. So I do like him quite a bit on Yahoo. On DraftKings, it's tough to get him in with Luka Doncic, but maybe if more value opens up, like, it's hard to get Luka, Randle, and Bam Adebayo in, but if more value opens up as the day goes on Wednesday, that might be something I try and do. I will have my updated core plays posted on Patreon once we do get some updates throughout the day. But I feel like Adebayo is going to be a guy I want to get a lot of exposure to, especially if Jimmy Butler sits. That would just make me like Adebayo even more. He's averaged 1.31 fantasy points per minute this season with Butler off the floor. 21.6% usage rate, 29% assist percentage, 18% total rebound percentage. Like, those numbers just scream triple-double. High usage rate, high assist percentage, high rebounding percentage. Like, you could see a triple-double from Adebayo today, and I wouldn't be surprised at all. So love him as one of the best pay-up options today, along with a guy like Luka, along with a guy like Julius Randle. Other centers, though, we can maybe look to. I think Rudy Gobert is fine in the mid-range at 7,500. You can go there. I would definitely prefer Gobert over Horford. Even if Embiid is out, I'd still rather go to Gobert over Horford. Like the matchup a lot for Mitchell Robinson. He was another guy that was really disappointing on Tuesday. Only played 25 minutes off the bench, had 13 DraftKings points. Gets another great spot, though, today against the Hawks. This is a matchup that Mitchell Robinson has absolutely crushed in this season. He's averaged 43 DraftKings points per game against Atlanta through 2 games against them. At 5,700 in the mid-range, I do like Mitchell Robinson quite a bit, and I think he's going to be pretty low owned tonight, which makes him very appealing for tournaments. Shaun Holmes is someone I'm going to be keeping my eye on. So he has played 2 games since coming back from injury, against Portland, against Toronto. Those games were on back-to-back days. He played 19 minutes in both games, had 21 and 16 DraftKings points. We don't know yet what Holmes' workload is going to be for today. We don't know if he's going to be starting or not. He has had a day to rest up. He's actually had 2 days to rest up ahead of this game. I think we could maybe see Shaun Holmes move into the starting lineup and possibly play like mid-20s to upper 20s in minutes. Hopefully we get an update in the afternoon on what his workload is going to be. If he can play like mid-20s, upper 20s in minutes, at only 5K, like Shaun Holmes could easily go for 30-plus DraftKings points in 25 minutes, especially against the Pelicans. Really good matchup, pace-up spot. Holmes is a high upside guy. He's a fantasy point per minute player. When this guy's fully healthy, like he should be priced probably around 6K, 6,500. We're definitely getting a huge discount on him today if he can get the minutes. That's one of the question marks. We just don't know what his minutes are going to look like. But if we can get mid-20s in minutes, I'd like him a lot at 5K. He'd probably be one of my favorite center plays. But not knowing his status, I think we can look to pivot to someone else. And one guy I do like at a similar price range is Dewayne Dedmon. So Dedmon's coming off a 28-minute game against Charlotte. Had 33 DraftKings points in that game. Just was really productive overall. Had 14 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. He did foul out in 28 minutes, so there's a chance he could have played way more if he didn't foul out. Obviously, Dewayne Dedmon is a guy that has a lot of fouling issues. A lot of times this season, like he's been limited because of foul trouble. That game against Philly, he was in foul trouble. Game against Dallas, he was in foul trouble, had 5 fouls. Against Miami, had 5 fouls. I think the Hawks are going to give this guy probably 26 to 28 minutes most nights if he can stay out of foul trouble. And if we're going to get 26, 28 minutes from Dedmon, like he has easy 30-point upside. This is a guy that averages over a fantasy point per minute. It is a really good matchup against the Knicks, a bad defensive team. He has played the Knicks this season when he was with Atlanta. He put up 28 DraftKings points in 32 minutes against them. I wouldn't be surprised to see a similar line from Dedmon today, if not better. I like him quite a bit at 4,700 as a value center. Now, if we get word that Shaun Holmes is not limited, I would try and get up to Shaun Holmes over Dedmon. But not knowing that news, I think Dedmon is fine to plug in as an early play. He's cheap on Yahoo as well, so I do like him quite a bit there. He's only $14. Probably my favorite cheap center if you're going like $20 and below. Between like Favors, Zeller, Giles, Biyombo, Lin, like I think I'd prefer Dedmon over all those guys. Hopefully he continues to get the minutes. You don't really know with Dedmon. You never know with the Hawks rotations. They could play him 20 minutes. They could play him 15 minutes. They could play him 32 minutes. Like we just don't really know here. I think, though, if he's not in foul trouble, he's probably going to get at least mid to upper 20s in minutes, which is plenty of time for him to be able to pay off that price. But yeah, guys, I think that's it for center. I think we covered everything at this position, broke it all down. So hopefully you guys did enjoy this video. I really do appreciate you watching. If you enjoyed, make sure you drop a like down below. As always, I do appreciate the likes, guys. Appreciate all your support. Hit that subscribe button as well. Click the notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. And if you have not yet, you can follow me on Twitter, which is linked down below in the description, at DFS by Noah. You can also check out my Patreon exclusive content, which is linked down below in the description. Get access to my article that I write Monday through Friday. Get access to my updated core plays. You can get in our Discord chat as well, which is available for Patreon members. All that can be found over there, linked down below in the description. But yeah, guys, best of luck tonight. Really appreciate you watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it helped you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.